This is where it all began. Authorities believe the outbreak of the coronavirus can be traced back to a seafood market in Wuhan. Its shutters have now come down, and the city has followed suit. As of Thursday morning, the city has been cut off from the rest of the country. Trains, flights, buses, and ferries have been canceled. Even public transport within Wuhan has ground to a halt. Hospital wards have had to deal with hundreds of cases, but so far, the World Health Organization has refrained from declaring a global health emergency. Much depends on whether the measures set in place by the Chinese government will prove effective.
Trying to contain a city of 11 million people is new to science. It has not been tried before as a public health measure. So we cannot at this stage say it will or it will not work.
With the city sealed off from the outside world, few headed to the epicenter of the outbreak. The last trains bound for Wuhan were unusually empty. And there's plenty of elbow room for passengers on the final flights into the city. Some fear a repeat of the deadly outbreak of the SARS virus, which killed over 800 people in 2003.
I'm really worried. I'm really scared it'll become the next SARS. That's why we all wear masks.
Others are less concerned.
Wuhan is a city of 11 million people. Just about 400 have been infected. That's a very low percentage. And the fatalities are all old people.
All over China, people are on the move to visit relatives over the Lunar New Year holidays. It's one of the biggest annual movements of people in the world. Despite the lockdown of Wuhan, it's likely that somewhere the coronavirus is traveling among them.
Well, for the very latest, let's cross over to our correspondent Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing. Fabian, the city of Wuhan is at the center of this outbreak. Tell us more about what authorities are doing there to contain the virus.
Already yesterday, the authorities have issued a travel warning urging people not to travel to Wuhan and also not to leave the city. And now, of course, the city is in lockdown. It's isolated. That's a pretty radical decision. You just have to look. It's 11 million people living there. And also from the space, I mean, it's basically like putting Greater London area under lockdown. But from a medical point of view, this is understandable because all the confirmed virus cases, they originate from a fish market in Wuhan, and they have been spread by citizens from Wuhan who then traveled also to Thailand, to South Korea, to Japan. So, of course, the authorities are focusing on that area. But even in Beijing, where I'm based right now, you see a lot of, body temperature scanners, especially at airports and also at the train stations. And, people are also very cautious.
Well, there are concerns that this virus has spread more widely in China, infected more people than officially claimed. You say people are cautious. How worried are they across the country?
They're very, very worried. I wouldn't call it a panic, but literally everyone is wearing face masks, by far the large majority, to protect themselves. And people are very skeptical towards the government numbers and also to the official state news. And I think it's safe to assume that the numbers are much higher. That's also in a line with estimates from scientists from the Imperial College of London or the City University of Hong Kong. They assume that far more have been affected. And the reason is many people here, they still remember the SARS pandemic in 2002 and 2003. And at that time, the authorities tried to cover up the real threat of the virus.
So what can authorities do now that they aren't already doing to make sure that this doesn't get any worse?
Well, I mean, the isolation of Wuhan is already a pretty radical step. Also, if you consider that the virus outbreak is still at an early stage, I would say that actually the authorities take a different step compared to what they did during the SARS pandemic. They are more transparent. I mean, they're reporting now more prominently about the virus outbreak. A party commission from the Communist Party has also urged its politicians to not cover up any infections, and not to, just for the reputation of local politicians to, downplay the threat. They called for more transparency. And I think it's a big sign and a big indication that they take it much more seriously, and they don't want to repeat the same mistakes that they did in 2002 and 2003.
Fabian, thank you very much for bringing us up to date there. Correspondent Fabian Kretschmer in Beijing.